So it's like, you can only say that for so long. Black women are tired and, kind of like putting on to them, like, hey, like, you didn't do this entirely because everybody in here, several people have talked about, like, going to counseling. Have that upon yourself. Stop waiting for a woman to tell you what you need to do. Take that
No,
upon
and let
yourself.
me address that real quickly. For me, I didn't know fuck how.
Can I say one more thing? No, no, no. I have to say this because another thing that happens is too, you live your life for so long, and I'm not meaning no disrespect by this,
Just say, bro.
but when you hit your 60s and your 70s, I want to be right.
Okay, but let me.
I want to live my life right. I want someone to take care of me and protect me. And that's what a lot of women have
Because
issues
I'm
with.
living it right the fuck now.
As I said,
Listen,
I said 60s and 70s.
let me say this.
Y'all over talk.
I'm gonna fucking overtalk you
I'm
because
good,
you're talking out
but
of
you're
line.
not gonna disrespect.
You don't know what the fuck you
Oh, I am.
I do. Love it.
I do.
You don't know what the fuck you talking about.
Oh, I do.
You can't.
I do.
You don't know it, nigga.
I do.
No, that's me. See, so I got. You don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
Start with me. See, so I got to.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. Yeah, they had a spirited debate, and I'll just say this: I was kind of confused about why we having this topic, why we having this discussion, about this. And Kolo, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And this particular point, I mean, I really didn't have much to say about this particular part, honestly. There was other parts in the video that I probably would have more to say. But we watched another video where Kurt Franklin's podcast, where they were talking about Kev on stage was talking about his brother passing away, and there was other points in that particular podcast where they were talking about different things, and you had NLE Chopper, who which is recently I guess took on a new leaf, and he you know is more reading the Bible more and things like that, and so he was forcing like his opinion on things. But you have one gentleman who's 20, and then you have one gentleman who's 40. You have both say they're believers, right? And I kind of explained it to my boy like this, and I'll go back to Clifton Powell because it's similar situation, sort of. But when you have a new Christian or a new believer, they are like a baby snake. They don't know how to control their venom, right? They don't know how to control, their mouth, their tongue, right? So, Chopper was speaking for a 20-year-old. He had some losses, yes, but he didn't live a 40-year-old life. He lived a 20-year-old life. And so this is a similar situation. Clifton Powell is 69, he said. Shout out to 69. And I was playing. You're not gonna turn into that type of show. But so Clifton Powell has lived a full life. And, he talked a little briefly about his upbringing, but there's some experiences that he had at 59 or 69, I'm sorry, that this other young man hasn't had. And guess what? You can speak from a point of view where this is what I would do, this is how I respond, this is how I would handle things, this is how I would treat this person, but you can't necessarily, I mean, you can say that. However, life experiences changes the way we do things, the way we when we encounter things, it changes the way we function, the way we move. And that's why it's important, like when you have these experiences, of course you're gonna learn from them, and I think that's what he's saying. He's saying like at this point, like I really didn't know, at 69 years old that to how to love somebody. Because through life I wasn't really, well, one, I wasn't taught that, and through life I never really learned it. I didn't have somebody in my life that uh, that I could really express that to, and somebody that could love me back is what I took from it. And so to speak from a younger man's, philosophy, yeah, you know what? I might know things. I know Imma handle this like this when it comes my way. I know I'm gonna know how to love. But guess what? What if you get beat down, beat down, beat down multiple, multiple times?
Mhm.
You don't know how you would handle it. You would like to believe you know how you would handle it, but I don't think you fully know how you would engage in that type of situation if you were encountered. Just like, when I play basketball, I would like to think that anybody that I come across, I'm gonna whoop they. Hey, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna lock them up. I'm gonna score buckets on them. Guess what? There's always somebody out there better than you. You know what I'm saying? So, you never know what that interaction would be like. And so, I mean, I think it's good to have that mindset, but experience is best teacher, as they say. That's that famous saying. So, cause I'll let you jump in, man. I'll let you get the next video ready.
Yeah, man. I would just like to say I would have loved to have been at that table and in that conversation because every time I look at that clip, I see something different.
Mhm.
So in that situation, when you have a round table of men, all different ages, all different walks of life, your first um thought process should always be to listen more and then talk less. And the way you get something out of the conversation is doing it just that way. And just to kind of see that clip, because I know some things can be, you know, taken up in a vacuum because we see clips. It's like, yeah, okay, but looking at the clip, you have points, you wanted to make a point, you relinquished the floor, and then someone else took the floor. And then as they're on the floor, giving their dissertation, you wanted to come back on the floor and make another point because you didn't want to lose it. But to me, that's disrespectful. You didn't have enough decorum to kind of hold yourself or hold that thought, and just say, hey, when you finish, I want to come back right to that thought. But a lot of times people have something they want to say, they want to get that point across right then and there. And I get you want to get your point across, but when you want to get your point across, that means you are trying to be right. You're not trying to build in the circle, or build through the conversation. You're trying to be right on that point so you can have some type of validation for what you were saying in the beginning because you missed the point. So anytime someone misses a point, they feel like they lost the battle or they lost the conversation or you lost the discussion. And it's not about that. It's about having, a round table so you can see, through the years, through this man's experience and his eyes, what his realizations are today versus what you're thinking now and what you don't want to get to in terms of where he's at. And who's to say you still won't go through that? Because a lot of times the people that you're dealing with or you having to go through things with also has trauma and has issues that you both have to work through. So it's not all just the man not doing things that he needs to do to bring family and foundation together. Sometimes it's the woman bringing her own baggage and trauma responses from being in the family that she was in previously. Yes, we know that. Yes, we understand that. And yes, we hold space to help her come through and heal from that. But also, that has to be on her own accord, not something that a man can do for a woman. A woman has to do for herself. So I get what the other guy was saying, what we need to do to help and hold space and all this other stuff. All that's fine and dandy. What do you think men have been doing, for so long, up until recent history? Yes, there's been a lot of broken homes and things happening. But before that, men were the breadwinners, taking care of everyone in the household, making sure everybody got what they needed in the house. But having to deal with certain circumstances and, you know, certain economic, fallacies, and challenges, those things come about, those challenges. And yes, there's a decision, there's a choice to be made, but all those things have to be considered. because everything comes from a place. We're not talking about the systems, we're talking about the root cause. So, what causes something? That's how you take care and eradicate things from your bloodline or from your family. You have to understand that part first. And somebody will say they do, but continue to argue in such a way with a female stylistic type tone and energy that you're trying to figure out, okay, are we having a conversation or are you feeling some type of way because something happened to you or something happened to the women in your family? So now you're feeling you have to speak for them too to make things right as you move forward. Okay, that's on you. That's what you would love to do. So with watching it, I just kind of said, okay, cool. I get what he was trying to say. He wanted to come back and make that tone. But we also have to realize that in that setting, you want to keep the respect high and the tone in a way that we all can hear one another, and not wound one another because we're trying to emotionally make a point because we're coming from a certain space and time that has a lot of healing that needs to be done, if that makes sense. And I yield, color. You go ahead. I don't want you to talk over.
I was just about to talk over.
Right, right.
Nah, but yeah, you bring up a lot of valid points, and some of your points I didn't really look at it from that standpoint, and that's why it's always good to listen. You know what I'm saying? Because you may receive something that you may not have received if you had to cut somebody off. So uh I was gonna play, you know what, maybe I'll let me see what video I have queued up right now because I don't remember which one. I have like quite a few of them because there was a lot of different points that I saw that we could address. But let's see what this one says.
I would like you to go a little bit deeper into what does that even mean? Because for me, the way I'm thinking about it is the way that we've been taught wrong about our power.
Yes.
That we are supposed to, that we have some sort of privilege in certain in some situations that we have a little bit more power than somebody else, and that we abuse that power. We use that power to try to control the situation in our favor when we should be listening to other people, when we should be
That's kinda
honoring
what you just
their
said.
existence and centering their freedom, their liberation. You know what I'm saying? So what their experience. So what does that mean to y'all? What does that even mean to dismantle patriarchy? What is that? Why is it harmful? And I'm not putting that necessarily on you, but whoever wants
See,
to.
you can have this in the like,
What does that mean? Yeah.
so when someone comes to you and they already
So I'll just I'll just jump in. So they were talking about dismantling patriarchy. Uh there's a couple things that I thought about when they had this conversation. I think that there was a system and a plan set up. And I'm just talking about the black community because that's what they're talking about.
Mhm,
There was something designed to disable patriarchy in the black community already.
mhm,
And and there's a lot of disorder in the black households, in the black community. And so this conversation that they had was they were discussing how to, love and listen to the black woman and things like that. Like that's fine and dandy, but signs of the patriarchy being dismantled is you got one person on there who's, you know, they bat both sides. I'm sorry, they bat the other side. You know what I'm saying? I'll just say it like that. And then you have another person on the field who's not a biological male. And then you have a dude who, and maybe I shouldn't have watched this, but you got a dude who played a gay dude on P Valley with Uncle, whatever the dude name is, Uncle, whoever the gay guy is. One of the guys on there, the one who was talking about him and his kids and things like that, he played that. And then you have a lot of them on there that said they were single, raised in single parent, single mom households. So that shows a dismantling of the patriarchy already.
mhm.
So I didn't understand what the hell they were talking about. Like we need to reestablish order and uh leaders reestablish order in our black families, in our black communities, in our black households. Like black families thrived when there was mother, father, and children. That's
Yeah.
when we had our own. That's when we, were highly educated as a family and not
Mhm.
just individuals.
Right.
Then came in uh now I just lost my train of thought. Then the government brought in, they said, "Oh, you know what? They give you a little money if you know, get rid of the black man, get him out of the household. Guess what? We'll make sure that you could take care of your household yourself. You don't need a man no more."
Mhm.
Guess what? Then we're gonna throw crack into the communities,
Mhm.
and we're gonna make sure that guess what? This is Plan B. Just in case Plan A doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
And now and not only did we have to like fight back the slave, we got to a good point in history, and then it was tore down again. And so for you to say dismantle the patriarchy, that I was like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Like we need to reestablish the black community house, and it starts with the man. And people say this all the time that the black woman is the most endangered person ever. No, it's not. Guess what? The black man is the one who's hunted out in these streets. Like he's the one that people say, "Oh, I fear for my life for." And guess what? When he goes home and I'm not saying all the black women because there's a lot of great ones out there, but when he goes home to the black woman for peace, he can't have peace in the household. And so where does he turn to? And I'm being funny, but there's a song out there that says, by Escape, where do I run to? You know what I'm saying? Where does he go if
Ain't
he
no
can't?
running.
Man, he can't find peace out in the streets. Like trying to handle his business, trying to work, trying to provide for his family, and he can't find peace at home.
Boy, back.
So what do you do as a black man? And it really, like, I really had to sit there and think about it. Like, what are y'all talking about in this discussion? Y'all, this is not. You talked about the root cause because this is not the root cause. Is not disabling the patriarchy. The root cause is giving a man direction. That the ones that don't, the root of this is is teaching our sons how to be man, teaching our daughters how to be a woman. Because guess what? The women ain't perfect out there either. Y'all said, trust all black women. I mean, and there's a point in this conversation where this guy said he was wearing his shirt, trust all black women, and then some dude approached him or whatever. But women are scorned. They're they've been hurt. Yes, I agree. They have some challenges, and they don't know their right place either, just like we don't. And so it's just like like a sports team, right? If you got the center playing point guard and he don't got no handles, y'all gonna have a lot of turnovers. You know what I'm saying? If you got Tom Brady trying to be the running back or the wide receiver, and you know what I'm saying, y'all gonna have some problems up there. And so I think that their conversation was, I love to see them get together, but I don't think their conversation it started from the right place because the root cause is not just love black women. Because as men, we love black women for the most part as by default, because most of the time we love our mother. Most men don't hate black women. I'll just say that. Most black men don't hate black women. I'm not gonna say there's not some, but most black men don't hate black women. And for that to be the topic of conversation, I just thought it was, disingenuous. I'm like, who put this conversation together? Like all of y'all men decided to talk about this, or like where are the conversations where we could talk about lifting up the black man, putting the black man in the right place, giving the black man somebody to talk to, uh, uh, putting the black man in a proper position. in the proper situations, giving them some reinforcement, like honestly, like as a man, I know for me, it's super simple. I like food. I like somebody to say, you got this, Marco, every now and then. And then I like, what I'm saying? You know, a little loving. Those three things, I think I'll be good because I can handle the rest of myself. I've handled more than that for the longest. And I think most men, I'm sorry, I'm saying not most men. Yeah, I think it's most men. I'll go out on a limb. I think most men don't have that. And that's what we need to have these conversations is getting there. And then we could bring in a woman because, y'all like to go biblical and I'll just say it there. I'll start there.
Mhm.
God created the man. That's what the Bible says God created the man first. And he said the man shouldn't be alone. So he took from the man and created a help meet, somebody to help the man out, you know, in a lot of different ways. And not saying that you don't have an identity, but that's what the woman was created for. Not to be on her own, not to do her own thing, you know, um, not to be a single mother. He didn't create her for that. He created her to be a helpmeet to the man. And I, you know, I yield, I yield the floor.
Factors or symptoms of the greater issue. So when you have conversations like you have here, talking about the patriarchy, is it being taken down? It's been down. That's why we have the conversations that we have today because of that very same reason. You know, it's the he say this, she say this. It's the man against the woman. It's the woman against the man. It's what you bringing to the table. You know, the woman is not being protected. The man's not being respected. High value man. High body count woman. I mean, all these topics and information is coming from a space and a place that has delineated, from a root cause and an issue. And as you said before, it's taking the man out of the household, breaking up the family foundation, and you really have no more high ground to stand on because you allow this to happen, so I have to depend on this person for this. Or you're depending on this person, so I have nobody to back me up and look over my shoulder, to when things are coming. So it's a lot of finger pointing and you said this and you didn't do enough of this or you didn't do this and this wasn't done. It's a lot of blame. It's a blame game. So everybody who hates women or have an issue with men had an issue with their mom. Same thing for women. 9 times out of 10, if they hate men or have an issue with men, they didn't have a good relationship with their dad for whatever reason. And you have to really go back and really explore that for yourself. And a lot of times, most people aren't willing to do that because that's going to take time to do. It's going to take pain. It's going to be painful for some people. And some people aren't willing to go through that pain to become better for it. They just rather be, 50% of the way, okay, as long as I'm able to do this, that, and the other, I'm fine. Well, that may be good for today, but what about 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road when things start to lock in on you, you trying to figure out why you can't move a certain way. It's because you haven't developed this part or you haven't allowed this part to heal or you're still allowing these things to enter, your sphere of influence in such a way that you really have no control of this. It's in you. It's programming. A lot of it is programming. You can break free from the programming, then you can really develop your own mindset in terms of how you see things for what it really is. And
Matrix.
yeah, so if you desire to do more and be more, then you have to let go of the programming. And a lot of times people can only function with the programming because that's all they have.
That's crazy. Yep.
So we can't get mad at the individual. Only thing we can do is try to peel back some layers and maybe they can see a glimpse of what's possible for them to kind of start, taking some time back and taking a step back to see, well, maybe I can look at it from this perspective, or maybe that might not be the true way to look at it. But in that moment, it's just going to be defend, 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 you know. So that's just what I see with this table. There's a lot of heavy hitters at the table. So you got some more clips.
Heavy hitters. Yeah. What they hitting, kind of
Well,
false.
man,
Yeah,
I,
no, no,
I
I feel
like
you.
I like conversation. Yeah, you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Let me see. Let me see if this worth playing. I got 1 or 2 minutes.
An organization called Build Power. So I'm really about power, and it's from the legacy of the Black Power movement. And I don't think you can get any closer to power than the person who birthed it, right?
Yes.
The Black woman, right?
Yes.
A lot of the time it's Black men that stand in the way of it, right? That get in the way of, what we're supposed to be empowered with, what we're supposed to be collaborating with. And so when we're thinking about things like, Sister Song is steeped in reproductive justice. And when we talk about reproductive justice, it's the human right to bodily autonomy. Now, here's the thing. I get into all the academic terms and then I get confused. So we're going to get into it for real, about what this means to us, what the human right to bodily autonomy, the human right to have kids.
So, I mean, we don't have to talk about that, but uh, they just went down a whole direction. I was confused. Like, it sounds like women should be having these conversations that they started off having. Like I said, I could be off, I could be wrong, but it kind of threw me off. But we go on to the next one, man.